everyone. Welcome to Tap In with Preetha. Today, I have someone really interesting with me, and I'm sure this is going to be one of the best conversations I've had. So stay tuned and do listen to us talk about everything and anything and everything. But it's going to be, like I said, a cracker of a conversation. So, Deepta Dixit, who is the programming director for Kadak FM currently, and in her own words, describes herself as a radiohead, a spiritual junkie, a technology enthusiast, curious, and most importantly, is one of our biggest cheerleaders, is a cheerleader for entrepreneurs and startups. And I think it's my pleasure to welcome Deepta to this conversation. So welcome, Deepta, and thank you so much for taking out the time.
Thank you so much, Preetha. It is such a pleasure connecting with you, and thank you for that lovely introduction. And I think just looking at your face and looking at you do such brilliant things is such joy and happiness, actually. I can't stop smiling.
I think it's quite funny. Deepta and I have worked on and off. I've been in radio for quite a few years of my career, and that's where we first met. And we've been in touch, not in touch. But let me tell you this: sometimes when you build connections and you really connect with people, even if you get back in touch after a certain point in time, there is that spark and there is that joy of connecting again. And that's exactly what happened right now. And so today, here we are having this wonderful conversation. We're going to talk about Deepta's journey. It's a very inspiring story of how she's transitioned not just multiple roles to come to the leadership role that she's in at present, but she's also transitioned many cities and countries. So it's not easy, but she's done it with such I would say with such ease, and it's such a it's going to be a really good experience to actually get into how she managed. What is that secret sauce? What are those tips and tricks that she used to actually seamlessly transition roles and countries? So let's start with that. I know you're a global citizen, right? You've worked in multiple countries, multiple organizations, cultures, and you are handling teams of diverse people with diverse backgrounds. So how do you do it? I mean, I know it's not easy. How do you actually
Yeah, it's been quite an interesting journey, honestly, from a small town like Indore and starting out as a radio jockey and then moving to, handling programming for a station, then the cluster, then Bombay, Mumbai, and then finally the UAE. Yeah, it's been quite crazy. But, honestly, I feel any transition for me, honestly, is about three things. And I like to kind of put it in different brackets because it becomes easier for me as a person. I like that bifurcation. So I feel that one is your physical transition, like moving to a different city, new house, and, new people in your life, a new probably grocery store, everything is new, right? You're like, oh my God, I wish there was someone I really knew, like my laundry guy. Bhaiya was so sweet. And then the second transition is mental, obviously, where you're, prepping for a new role. You're kind of understanding your teams. You're understanding the dynamics of each team, which is very different from a small town to a big town to an international city like Dubai, or Abu Dhabi. And then the third is the emotional transition, which is your anxiety, which is your, oh my God, I'm missing home. Oh my God, I wish I could share this with someone right now and there's no one around. So I feel that my transitions have basically been, managed differently under these brackets. And the sauce that works for me, honestly, is one thing at a time. Like I go in for physical transition first, that, okay, let me just set up the house. Let me just set up my comfort zones in the city I'm living in. Then it goes to mental transitions, saying that, okay, now let me deal with what I have in hand and let me understand my workplace because I'm going to spend most of my time there, right? And then the emotional transition. Now, many people will think, hey, but emotions are not in your transition phase. They're always transitioning through different phases. And that is so right. But the good things about emotion management is that in any phase, you can deal with it for some point of time. So while you're crashing down saying that I can't find a house, you're like, okay, fine. You know what? We'll deal with this right now. feel bad, crib, cry, call, do everything, and then move on to the next thing. So the transitions, honestly, for me have been like this. I like to bifurcate things for myself and then take it on one thing at a time. Yeah, because it just gives me more clarity, I feel. Otherwise, it's like too much happening together.
Yeah, but that's true, because it can either it can overwhelm you if you've got everything coming together. So I like my bucket lists too, and I think that works very well. Having bucket lists, putting things in place, and doing one thing at a time. So yeah, I completely buy that point, and that's a very good tip for people when you are facing multiple transitions or multiple new things at the same time. Bucket them, focus on one and then the other and then the other. It kind of helps you manage things better and doesn't overwhelm you. So let's
Yeah, because people do so many things that they don't realize that they're overwhelming themselves. So they're putting unnecessary burden on themselves. It's not needed. You can do one thing at a time. We can function this way also.
and I also agree with your point on creating that comfort zone and that space for you, right? Because you always crave for that safe corner or that safe haven that you can kind of go and park yourself and say, okay, now I'm going to have a little bit of a downtime. I need me time to recover. And if you do have that space created, it just makes things easier.
Yeah, makes more sense actually. But each one is own. This is my way of handling things, and I think it kind of works.
So now when we talk about work, right? I know you've got multiple things on your plate at the same time, and you know, running a radio station. If people think it's easy and it's unidimensional in some ways, let me tell you, it's not. It's complicated. It's fast paced. There are changes happening constantly. You're constantly on your toes, and you are multitasking all the time. So, what's your hack that you kind of follow, or that you believe in, that kind of helps you prevent burnout and at the same time stay sane when everything around you is kind of chaotic?
Yeah, that's a difficult one actually, because all my friends or anyone who knows me knows that I love to do multiple things at the same time. I'm such a enthusiast. I'm so enthusiastic about learning things. I have major FOMO when it comes to learning. I'm like, oh, naya kuch aaya, let me just do this. Let me just do that, or try to learn about stuff. But I think what works for me is if I pre-plan. Like, I'm a big fan of pre-planning things, because what happens is that if you leave stuff, and this is such a basic thing, right? Everyone will tell you this, that if you leave stuff till the last minute, it's going to get overwhelming. Everything is going to come on your plate together, and it's not going to be easy to manage. And especially in media, which is so dynamic, which is changing every day. There is news that is happening every day. There's so much that we do in the live element of radio or any media, for that matter. I think pre-planning kind of eases things out, irons those difficulties beforehand. And I feel this is a hack even for your personal life. Like, I am such a fan of to-do lists and planning my week ahead, because it just eases life so much. You just know when to do what. And sometimes, I get laughed at a lot saying that, we would know exactly at what time you'll be doing what. But I think it's just easier to manage things, because otherwise you'll just end up doing too many things together and burn yourself out. The second thing I feel, which is very important, which I've started doing very recently or lately in life, is listen to my body. Like, after an age, I think you just need to listen to your body, because it is screaming out loud and clear, saying that you have aches, pains, you have discomforts. Stop. Listen to your mind. When you start feeling foggy, when you start feeling a little, disoriented, or you're not able to focus, listen to your mind. Stop then and there and listen to your emotions, which is basically saying, if you're not feeling happy about what you're doing, then it means that you need to stop at some level and give yourself a break. So I think the two things that work for me are pre-planning and just listening to your body, your mind, your emotions. It is so important, Preetha. I can't tell you. I think after years of struggling, now finally I find myself in a place where I'm like, okay, you know what, this works, this is okay, and you know, you can give yourself that space. Otherwise we're always hustling, especially as women. You know, you're hustling at work, you're hustling at your house, you're hustling with your children. It's always a hustle, and I think it's important to listen and say,
Yeah.
okay,
And
I
you're right,
think
you
this
can't be superhuman or superwoman at all times. Sometimes if you are not 100%, I think you need a little time to take a step back, relax, listen to your body, listen to your mind. Let me tell you, when you grow older, like you said, you are kind of forced at times to say that, yes, I need that little extra sleep or little extra me time or little extra self-care time, because otherwise I'm not going to be out there doing everything that I want to. So that's true. That's so true. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, I would love to stretch myself and binge watch a show or something like that. But my body is like 10 o'clock, babe. Go to bed. Tomorrow you have gym in the morning.
oh,
Able to function.
early to bed is something that I think I cherish a lot.
Now.
Now, not when we were younger, but certainly now. Now, tell me this.
Yeah.
You had a very interesting career when you moved from Indore. You know, you started in Indore, you moved from Indore to Mumbai, and then from Mumbai to UAE. What was that one inspiration or aha moment, which kind of kept you going and, making you want to try these new things? Because it's not easy. It's not easy to kind of make these transitions. So, how did you kind of,
Yeah.
one thing that kind of pushed you forward?
Okay. I'll tell you the philosophy of my life. I think it'll just get easier for you to understand then, because I believe that I prioritize experiences, I prioritize education, and I prioritize emotions. I think as a person, I am very bent to taking my decisions to these three things, and I think. I think the aha moment for me was when I was handling, multiple roles in Indore. I was handling the cluster, I was handling some part of digital, and the station, and at some point of time, you ask yourself, this is it, and now what? You know, because you've done everything that you possibly could do, and you question your growth, saying that, okay, now what next? Because I have done this. And I think everyone should pause at some point of time in their career and their life and ask themselves, okay, now what? And I think that was the moment I decided, okay, it's just time to get out of my comfort zone and take on a bigger role, take on more challenges. And I didn't know if I'll fail, I'll do well. I had no idea. I was like, let's take the risk. And honestly, there's so many aha moments actually, if you see in our careers, because our careers have spanned years, right? Decades, in fact. And recently, I had an aha moment when when Chat GPT launched, and I think it was an aha moment for most of us who were looking at technology and who were looking at industries, or industries slightly related to tech. Everyone is actually right now, and I was like, okay, are we ready for the next step? Again, are we ready to deal with these challenges? Are we ready to deal with working side by side with artificial intelligence? Are we ready to kind of maneuver our careers around them and with them? So all of this, I'm going through an aha moment right now.
I love this. In fact, when I've had conversations with Deepta, she's always telling me, I'm doing something new. I'm doing this course. I'm doing this program. And it fascinates me how she has the time and the energy to do so much. So I'm gonna dive a little into Deepta's life per se. So she's doing a lot of things reverse. She was telling me that she's doing a long distance now after so many years of marriage for and some commonalities, something that struck us, saying, oh, so we've got a lot of things in common in the way our lives have progressed. But tell me something, when you kind of transition, right, and you have these leadership roles that you take on, what is that one thing that has kind of helped you move from being a team member to a leader, and also a little bit of how you've kind of managed your personal and professional life, because that's always a fine balance that we have to kind of look at, especially as women, when we juggle multiple roles, multiple things at the same time. So what is it that you kind of has kept you going together and kept you going? And yeah, I'm sure everybody would love to hear a bit.
Yeah, I think in both your professional life and personal life, I think one thing comes out very, very strongly is communication. Like when you handle or you take on different teams who have had previous leaders who had a certain leadership style, it's always difficult, you know. And my first leadership role came from peers to then being their leader. So the one thing I heard most is, you've changed a lot. तुम तो बहुत बदल गई हो. And I, at that point of time, I used to feel guilty. I used to be like, you know, I want to be a good friend also, you know. But after a certain point of time, when you understand that this position comes with certain responsibilities, and your friendships come with certain expectations, but also certain adjustments and understanding, I think it falls in place. But one thing, if you ask me one thing that has worked in terms of my professional transitions, it is to listen, to learn, and then to lead. You know, because you need to listen to every team. No team is the same. No team member is the same. You know, some people require challenges to go ahead. Some people require understanding and cajoling to go ahead. And some people just require a very strong leader because they are looking for direction and they are okay to work in that direction, right? So I think listening is primary. Learning from whatever you taken is primary, and then leading accordingly is primary. You know, Preetha, the second thing I've realized in all my years of being a leader is that you need to ask yourself what kind of a leader you are. You know, because you can be the best version of you as a leader. You cannot be the best version of someone else as a leader, right? So you will have these comparisons saying that pehle to aisa nahi hota tha, we have never worked like this. But you need to understand and really be convinced about the kind of leader you need to be or you are. You know, how inclusive are you? How democratic are you? What is your end goal? How do you see your team growing? You know, all of these questions are so vital for leaders to ask and then follow that path. When it comes to personal life, again, communicating beyond required. Because when you're far off, it's tough. When you're in glamorous professions, it's tougher, you know. But I think being extremely genuine about your problems, being extremely open about what you're going through, being extremely honest about how you're transitioning emotionally with your family, with your partners, and communicating as much is, I think, is good for any relationship. I'm not even talking about you know, spouses. It's great for friendships. It's great with parents. I think many people forget parents in all of this transitioning, but it just takes a call, and you know, it just takes a message saying, okay, let's do this, or you know, how are you doing, or you know, in the world of memes, sharing memes is a great way to connect, actually.
That's interesting. But like you said, communication or over communication really works. And listening, I think that's a hidden talent that many people forget about, that you really need to listen. It's and you know, in today's world, when we've got so many devices and so many things to distract us, I find that sometimes with my son that he's like, you know, it's my time with you. So can we please spend time without all these devices, just you and me, and you listening to me? So I really kind of think that's critical and important, and you know, kind of just put away all your devices, put away everything, just spend that little time, which is
Absolutely.
precious. And
In fact, yeah. In fact, today morning I like I said, I like to listen to all these hacks, and I was listening to someone talk about being indestructible, right? And he was saying that we all have these to-do lists, right? And it's great to have those, but what you need to have is time that needs to be blocked to do that.
yeah.
So when you block that time intentionally and say that, hey, this time is only for my child, or this time is only for my partner, or this time is only for me to probably pick up a book and have a cup of tea. If you block that time, it translates into everything that we're talking about, you know.
That's so true.
And I think I'm such a to-do list person, and I was like, oh, I think my to-do list is not working as well.
So
yeah, but I think it's a good thing.
No, so let me come to something that's top of mind for a lot of people, right? We know it's not an easy job scenario. There've been a lot of people who've been laid off. There are people who are looking to change roles, look for new opportunities. Um, and as a person who's kind of interviewed a lot of people and also have been on the other side or both sides of the coin, let me put it that way, what is that one thing that you would tell candidates today who are in the job market, or what are those two things that you feel that is going to be critical for them to land that next role?
So yeah, I feel that I look at personalities because ultimately everyone is a patch of words, right? Because that's your profile, that's your CV. But add that personality that gives me something extra in your CV. I don't need for you to make it very creative. If you can, great, but don't try that hard. But give me something that tells me about you as a person. Like if I get one thing, then I know I can build on it. For me, as someone who's looking for people, I look at trainable people. Someone who's flexible, who's willing to learn, who's willing to go that extra mile to maybe develop a skill set that he or she does not have, but has an open mind and does not come with this attitude that, hey, you know what, I'm the best candidate. Yes, you might be, but me, it's possible that you need to learn something more, right? So this is the second thing. And the third thing I feel is come to me or come to my brand showing some interest in working. Sometimes people come into an interview not knowing anything about the brand, and I am amazed. At why would you not care about your career?
Yeah.
You forget about the interview. Why would you not care about which brand are you going into?
Yes.
Why are you in this interview? That is something that completely baffles me, and I'm like, it's about your career. It's not so much about this interview. And if you don't care about yourself, how will you care about a brand? Right? So I think these things I definitely look at in an interview. Also, I feel knowledge. Yeah, people work on a lot of things related to their profiles, but I don't think they work too much on their personalities or what they get personally to, we love having great conversations. We love those people who add to our lives, right? Be it music, be it news, be it anything. I think in most of our conversations, I've learned so much for you about digital media, about, how things are working in a startup. And that kind of contribution, I think I would want with someone who's working with me also. So I think these things are for me important as a leader. And I also feel I learned, I read this somewhere and I added a twist to it. They always say, right, you need to be at the right place at the right time. I think you need to be there with the right amount of preparation. People don't prepare for their next job. They always are.
Yeah, and in today's world where information is available at your fingertips through so many tools, there is no excuse not to be prepared. And I also strongly believe that if you yourself are not convinced that you're the right person for this role with the right information, and that means you need to know what the role entails, what was the organization, the culture, do you want to be there longer term, what is it that you're looking at from the organization, how are you even going to convince the other person on the other side that you're the right person for that role? It's like that mismatch that's always going to be there. And like you said, I mean, Chat GPT is one of those things, but forget that. There's so many things that you can access to get information.
Yeah. I mean, there's content which is online, which is freely available for you to learn stuff, And I think people look at an interview about impressing someone else or, kind of getting the job. I don't think they understand it's about their lives, because if you understand it, it's about your career and your life and your decision to work with someone or with a brand. It has to have that much of involvement. And I think that is one thing that really stands out with good candidates. They know their deal, and they come in with that confidence. And I love meeting such people.
So like I said, this was one of the most engaging conversations I've had. Time has flown. I don't even know how time has flown. And
I know.
and it was so interesting. We can go on and on. I'm sure we'll come back for more conversations with Deepta, but thank you so much for taking the time out. It's my pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I love what you're doing. I think I think Tap In is such a great initiative, and I feel that when women support women, change happens. And I think you're trying to build that, and it is amazing. Like I am like cheering you on all the time, everywhere.
And for everyone who's watching this, we will leave our social handles. So follow us on LinkedIn and check out our website, www.tapin.co.in, and make sure that you subscribe. Our memberships are open. We've got a lot of interesting things for you, workshops, modules, physical catch-ups, coffee catch-ups. So if you're in India, you need to be part of this. And yes, we hope that we go across to other countries soon. But if you're in India, but do check out the website. We leave all the details below, and see you soon.